Hi guys, this is Vidas,
And Ausra.
and let's start episode 56 of Ask Vidas and Ausra podcast. And this question was sent by Morton, and he writes, "Greetings, Vidas. I really am so happy that you are able to send transcripts of your podcasts. I feel that these transcripts make all the difference in the world for your subscribers. In one transcript, you mentioned the phrase easier toccatas. In a future podcast, would you please introduce us to some of the easier toccatas? In my case, I learned to play the toccata from Suite Gothique by Böllmann when I was about 16, and when I practiced after school 5 days a week and also played most of our church's 9:30 a.m. service except for the offertory anthem. A few years ago, I was able to bring that toccata back to life. I'm looking forward to a podcast transcript in which you mention some of the easier toccatas. Best wishes, Morton." Okay, so this question is about toccatas. What would you recommend for starters, Ausra?
Well, I think that the toccata, Böllmann's toccata from Suite Gothique is a fairly good example of, easy toccatas, what I would...
Usually people start with Böllmann, I would say.
Well, yes, I know so many cases when people started with toccata, because it's really fits hands comfortably and, it's not too complicated.
It has maybe this famous double pedal passages at the end, but it's not
Well,
too
it's
difficult
not so hard, I think.
because it's in parallel octave motion.
Yes. What would you suggest as other easy toccatas or easier toccatas?
Obviously, Gigoux toccata. It's also not too complex. You don't have to play too fast. You can choose your comfortable speed. And pedal line is not too complex. Usually in French toccatas, coordination between hands and feet is not too difficult because there is not too many things going on together at the same time in toccatas.
Sure.
Like in French toccatas, there is this famous toccata motion in the hands, motoric motion in the fingers, and then there is maybe one melodic line, either in the pedals or in the soprano with your little pinky finger in the right hand, or sometimes in the tenor, right, on the separate manual. So it alternates. Do you think that sometimes composer write like counterpoint, like parallel contrasting melody with the theme, like a dialogue between the theme and the counter subject?
Yes, I think so. That's often the case.
So that's it, more complex then.
Yes. Yes, and definitely if we are, comparing different toccatas, I would say probably Bach's toccatas are very hard, or at least, really harder than, those toccatas that we talked about.
Yes, the term toccata is very old. It's not originated with the French symphonic repertoire, of course, but it comes from Italian word called
Toccare,
toccare, and it means
to touch.
so. It is a term which describes a piece for keyboard, specifically for keyboard instruments, to touch the keyboard basically. So in early Baroque times, Gabriele Merula and Frescobaldi, right? They all wrote toccatas. So sometimes they were improvisation-based pieces, but later on they started to add imitative sections, like in the like in the fugue, but there were no fugues at the time, so they would call them differently, right? What was the precursor of the fugue in those days? Ricercar.
Ricercar and canzone, of course.
So those sections between the free improvisatory toccata passages were like Richard Cars.
Sure. And what is the easiest and the hardest toccata that you have played with us?
The easiest probably was either by Böllmann. Yeah, probably by Böllmann. Or maybe by myself. I wrote a few toccatas too. I wrote a toccata on the themes by Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis back in 2011. I first improvised this piece in the concert during live performance at the Philharmonic Hall in Lithuania, and then later came back and wrote down and expanded and polished the written out version. So it's not a difficult piece, but it has this toccata-like figurations and a nice chorale section in the middle. I don't have to say nice, right? Other
Yes.
people have to say nice.
And what is the hardest toccata?
And the hardest toccata probably is by Maurice Duruflé.
Oh, I thought about it too.
Maurice Duruflé from the suite Opus 5.
Yes, I think it's Opus 5.
So the prelude from the suite is not too difficult, dark mood and long prelude, slow motion. And then the Sicilian, the second movement, is like a dance rocking rhythm back and forth, but not too difficult too. But then the toccata comes, and that's a challenging piece. What about Du Parmenou by Messiaen? Is it difficult?
Well, it is difficult.
But easier than Duruflé.
Yes, I think so. It's easier than Duruflé.
So other French composers also have wrote other toccatas.
Like the most famous, probably one by Widor.
Widor toccata, like every symphony by the French composer must end in finale, and finales a lot of times have toccata like motoric motion.
Sure.
Right.
Like the first symphony, yes, the last movement of Viern's first symphony, or no.
Third,
I had played finale. I actually played the whole symphony, the third symphony by Louis Vierne, and it wasn't so hard, but it always sounds very nice and grand.
What about what was your least difficult, the easiest toccata for you?
Maybe by Frescobaldi. And actually, the easiest toccatas to play are toccatas elevazione per elevazione.
Yeah, you know.
But of course, it's a different genre than a regular toccata.
Yeah, no fast motion, no virtuoso passages at all. That was another occasion for elevation section of the mass. So you would not play very fast then.
Yes.
And what about the most challenging toccata for you?
Well, let me think about it.
You asked me this question, so I sort of give it back to you.
I don't know. At one point, probably was the toccata C major by J.S. Bach.
Right.
It's quite challenging, not because it's technically so difficult, but it has all those various episodes, and to put them together, like grand opening of the hands, and then pedal solo, and then all things together. That's a nice piece, but it has its hard things.
Exactly. To play toccata alone is not too difficult, but when you play it with the fugue, toccata adagio and the fugue as a cycle, then it's challenging enough.
Yes, because that fugue has that fast tempo, and it's a dance fugue, so it's not easy.
So guys, start with Böllmann, I would say, then go to Gigoux. Dubois probably also is doable too. So 3 toccatas, right, for starters, easy toccatas, and then if you like more French stuff, then you can
Play a Vidor.
play Vidor, yeah,
Yes.
but then you need a good manual technique for that.
But it's also nice about, practicing French toccatas that you can do much of your work on the piano if you have a piano at home, because it fits so nice to piano keyboard. And that's a very good way to practice it, and when later you will add the pedals when you will have an access to the organ.
So guys, I hope this was useful to you, and remember, when you practice,
Miracles happen.